Yep. You know what it is. Southpaw slick. And I'm not even going to say today because I already did a video today. But we're going to do another one. And this is going to be a really hot topic. The reason this even came about is because of two Facebook posts. And yes, like I said in the other video, I'm going to start putting these fucking links in the description, which we are going to do so you guys can see what the fuck I'm talking about. That I don't just be talking out my ass, right? But there was two posts about gatekeeping. One for anime and one for video gaming. Towards women in particular, or girls. And the post about anime was from a female saying that she always gets a random trivia when she starts talking about anime from guys. And she said that the dude that tried to test her on anime was shocked that she knew what Sailor Moon was, which I'm kind of questioning that because who doesn't know what the fuck Sailor Moon is? Everybody knows that. That's like Dragon Ball Z. Everybody knows that. Even my mom knows what it is. I mean, that's mostly because of me, but she knows what it is. And she don't watch anime at all. So, whatever. But that was one post, which I'm going to put in a description. I promise. And the other one was about video gaming. And when I initially saw the post, it was shared by DeAnna Davis, who I'm also going to tag because she's fucking awesome and she's actually legit. She's 21, which is going to be important as I go on. Allow me to continue. She shared a post from this guy talking about women not being real gamers or girls not being real gamers. And, you know, all you play is like cell phone games and Pokemon and all that other shit. And then later on, because it wasn't there when I first saw the post, after he got a lot of backlash and smoke, he wants to say, oh, this was copy pasta. Basically the equivalent of saying, oh, I was just kidding or just joking to soften the blow because you said what you really wanted to say. He said that because he really wanted to say it and you couldn't deal with the backlash. Like trying to be like a jokester, like, oh, I was just joking. Fuck out of here. You meant what you said. Stick by it. Be a G about it. Anyway, continuing, my thoughts on it. My thoughts on gatekeeping in geek culture. And we're talking about everything. We're talking about anime, comic books, video games, toy collecting, all that shit. We're going to talk about it, right? Gatekeeping. Am I against it? Am I against it? Yes. I said where my mentality is in life now, yes, I'm against gatekeeping. However, I fully understand where these guys are coming from. 100%. And that's the main thing I wanted to get into in this video, is that there's a disconnect, a lack of understanding between just one generation over. I'm saying from the millennials, which I will be a part of, you know, people born in anywhere from 1980 to 94, right? Or 92 for some people. That is the millennials. Anybody born like 97, post 97 onwards is Zennials, then subsequently Gen Z. If this is the last generation coming up. But anyway, there's a disconnect between us. I said the millennials and all the generations that came antecedently, there's more of an understanding because a lot of them had to deal with the same bullshit that we had to deal with. And that's where all these gatekeepers are coming from. It's from past trauma that they cannot get over. That's what it really is. That's what it really is. And I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down When you see guys talking about women being into geek culture, like, oh, you see all these girls nowadays, they're into gaming, they're into anime, they're into toy collecting, they're into comic books. At one point in time, that was non existent. You didn't see girls into that shit. And if you, as a dude, was into it, you were scrutinized for it. You got made fun of for it. You got bullied for that shit. I know it sounds crazy to like the younger generation coming up, but it was like that at one point in time. Girls were not into that shit, and they let you know they weren't into that shit. Now, that's not to say they weren't around at all, but it was very, very, very few and far between. And the ones that were into geeky shit, you knew they were into geeky shit because they look like the female version of the basement dweller. You know, the overweight, bad acne, the big bottle cap glasses, you know what I mean? Like Velma from Scooby-Doo or Meg from Family Guy. You know, they had that kind of look. You know what I mean? Like you knew the geeky girls. They were mostly white. That's another thing I wanted to get into was the race thing. There's a lot of black chicks that are into anime and video gaming. And that never existed. You know what I mean? Like it's mind-boggling, even at times still for me, how many black girls are into anime and video gaming, because you wouldn't catch them at all fucking with that shit. And you definitely got clowned for it by them mostly. I said women, period, but definitely the black ones. And you know me, I hate generalizing, but that's just the way it was back then. That's just the way it was back then. There was only one black chick that watched Dragon Ball Z. But the thing about Dragon Ball Z, that kind of doesn't count. But I'm going to get into that. There was only one black chick that was into Dragon Ball Z, and her name was Rebecca Legute. And the fact that I can even remember your government name all these years later goes to show you how many of them really was fucking with it, because it was like they didn't exist. They didn't exist at all. The white ones, same thing, but you were more likely to run across a white chick that was into geek culture than a black one. That's just the way it was back then. So I get where guys are coming from saying, oh, these fake, geek girls or gamer girls or anime girls. I get where they're coming from. Because, like I said, it's like they just can't deal with the thought or the fact that the younger guys coming up had it a little bit better. This was like a dream to a lot of us. I'm saying to have, especially a pretty one, a pretty chick that was into geek culture, that was a dream. Like we wanted that so fucking bad back then. And most of us never got it. And that's where the hatred, if you want to call it that, comes from. Because they weren't around. They were not around. Like I was saying with Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z, me, myself, I was introduced to Dragon Ball Z very early on. I believe I was 5 years old at the time. Dragon Ball Z was not even on Toonami. Toonami didn't even exist at this time. It was on UPN 9 when it started airing the beginning of the Saiyan Saga, with Raditz, Piccolo, Goku, Gohan. And we also got the ocean dubs of the first three movies, which were Dead Zone, The World's Strongest, which is my favorite Dragon Ball Z movie of all time because of sentimental reasons and because it's fucking awesome. And third was Tree of Might. We got all those. I ended up getting the VHS of World's Strongest and Tree of Might early on. So I was already ahead of the game. After I saw Dragon Ball Z for the first time, I'm like, I gotta like get more of this shit. You know what I mean? And that's when I ran across the VHSs at FYE at the time. And Yeah, but with Dragon Ball Z, it brought all of us together. It didn't matter if you were black, white, geeky, cool, jockish, lame. It didn't matter. All of us fuck with Dragon Ball Z. All the boys. All of us fuck with Dragon Ball Z and wrestling. That's the two things that brought us together. Now, the only divide with that, and gaming too, the only divide with that was what wrestling you watch. You were either WCW or WWF. And me, I was both. I was mostly WWF, but I watched both. But I was saying, but it was usually one or the other. That was like the playground arguments. Was that, the Genesis versus the Super Nintendo. Then afterwards, the N64 versus the PlayStation, and nobody talked about the Saturn because nobody fucking had one. I think only 2 kids had a fucking Saturn when I was going to elementary school at the time. But yeah, like I said, with us, with the dudes, you had dudes that weren't into anime as a whole. They just liked Dragon Ball Z, and that was it. Like, and I'm glad some people like will correct you on that. That was around during that time. They say, I'm not into anime. I just like Dragon Ball Z. They like make it known. I only fuck with Dragon Ball Z. Me, I was fucking with all of it. I'm saying when we got, Sailor Moon, Tenchi Muyo, or Tenchi Universe, Rurouni Kenshin, and then like later on, with like Trigun and Outlaw Star and Big O. And all, I know that sounds crazy right now, but that was actually a good anime. You know what I mean? I was fucking with it all, but my actual introduction to anime was Speed Racer and Voltron. Because they used to come on in the morning when I was getting ready for school. That was my introduction to anime. I wasn't the biggest fan of Speed Racer. Still not. The only thing I like is the opening theme song. And the car, the Mach 5. I love the Mach 5. And with Voltron, that was like the predecessor for like Power Rangers, at least for us. Because in Japan, if I'm not mistaken, Super Sentai came out before Voltron, but Voltron was out before Power Rangers or westernized Super Sentai. So that was kind of like my introduction to that tokusatsu type thing. It was like an anime tokusatsu in essence. But yeah, I was in anime very, very early on. My favorite anime, excluding anything Dragon Ball related, because it's too easy to say Dragon Ball Z. My top 3 is Yu Yu Hakusho, 2 is Death Note, and 3 is Samurai Champloo. And yes, I have other anime I'm really big on, but those are my top 3. Now, to be fair, the women coming up now, the girls coming up now, they might know more about anime than I do now because I'm not into the shit anymore. Like, there's very, very, very few anime that come out that catch my attention because it's all derivative to me. It's like you've seen one, you've seen them all. Same thing with movies now. Like, a lot of movies don't catch my attention anymore. But anime, that's why I don't call myself an otaku or like an anime guy like that anymore because I'm not into it like I used to be. Now, there's tons of anime that I do love and will rewatch, just like my favorite movies. I'll rewatch them. That's how I do anime. Like my top 3, I'll rewatch those once a year from beginning to end. No problem. Because I love them that much. You know what I mean? But I also watch the other ones, like the Pokemon and Digimon and Monster Rancher and Metabots, which is another one I fucking love. Like I said, it's like I'm not into anime like I used to be. So like the girls coming up and the guys coming up, when they talk about Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, even though I did watch the first season and enjoyed it, I didn't really get into it enough to keep on watching it. What's another one people like? One Punch Man, Mob Psycho 100. Like, most anime does not catch my eye. The ones that did in recent memory, I like Prison School. I like High School of the Dead. I love High School DxD. Even with the fan service ecchi or, the perverted shit, it actually has a good story. And also Rosario Vampire next to that. Prison School is another one I fucking love, which I'm mad we never got a second season, just an OVA. But whatever. I digress. And of course, the other anime I really got into were the two Netflix ones, King and Ashura, which I don't know why they won't finish that fucking King and Annihilation tournament. I'm like, if you're just gonna stop working on the anime, at least finish the fucking tournament. You don't leave a tournament arc half-assed. That's like rule number one. You don't do that. At least finish the fucking tournament. I mean, I know what's gonna happen now because I read the manga afterwards after being so fucking frustrated that we never got season 3, and we probably never are gonna get it now. High Score Girl is another one I fucking adore. I would easily put that in my top 10 anime. I'm just trying to figure like what placement I want to put it at. But yeah, that's definitely a love letter to gamers and anime fans alike. Especially if you're around during that time or you're very familiar with that time, the arcade scene. It is during the arcade boom with Street Fighter 2 all up until 96. Basically 1 year in the 32-bit era. Fucking awesome. Highly recommend. And another one that is popular that I really am fond of and fully invested in is Spy Family. Fucking love that. And I'm all in. I'm all in. But yeah, just this gatekeeping thing. Like I said, there's a disconnect between generations. Like the generations that came before me, like the Trekkies, for example. You didn't see no girls like that at no Star Trek convention. That was like, there was very few. I'm like, when you look at like old pictures that people have from that time period, you might have seen maybe like 2 out of 100 people. You know what I mean? It was mostly geeky, basement dwelling, incel looking guys that were into that shit. Gaming. Like you got girls that are into PC gaming now. Can you imagine if girls were playing fucking Wolfenstein and Doom back in the day on an old ass like Windows 95? You have never seen that. The only girls that were on computers were ones that were doing it as a profession. And that also includes video game programmers. There were female video game programmers back in the day. Not a whole lot, but they were around. But like I'm saying, like you just have to understand the older generations, gamer girls, geek girls, girls into like geek culture, that just wasn't a thing. So it's very hard for certain guys to understand this like influx, like the last like just 10, 15 years. It's very hard for guys to deal with that. You know what I mean? Like, and then the past trauma that I brought up. Also, with the younger generation, you have to understand that life was like that at one point in time. I know with the younger ones, they don't understand that. Like the guys and the girls, because you guys are around each other and you guys got into this shit when it became mainstream. Now it's cool for everybody to like it. Everybody's into it, and that's all you guys know. So that's why it's weird when you see dudes trying to gatekeep, because it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, we all fuck with this shit. So I get it. I get it from both sides. I get it from both sides. But on a final note, because the break is about to be over, with the girls, the younger ones, like the Zennials, Gen Z type girls, I think a good majority of them are being legit, right? But I think some of them are fraud too. I think some of them do get into the shit for male attention and validation. You're not really in the game. I said, like, it's like how certain ones talk. Like the one in the comment section that got mad about the gaming thing when she said, "Oh, I was fucking whooping Heihachi's ass on Tekken 2 when you were still in your mom's womb." And I'm thinking to myself, that's not a bragging right. You know, like I said, you know, being my Tekken niggas know, we already know that. For one, Heihachi ain't the boss in that game. 2, beating Tech even on hard, that ain't much of a bragging right. That ain't much of a bragging right. Come play with the big boys and start talking. Then you can start talking about Tekken. But You do have ones that are legit. Like, they play all kinds of games. Like, like if a girl was like, I just got done playing Cuphead a week ago. I'm going to look at her like she's that fucking chick. Like, she's good at fucking Cuphead, or she's talking like, I beat fucking Ninja Gaiden Black on Master Ninja. I'm like, yes, those are the real gamer girls. So yeah, there is a little bit of gatekeeping because you have people that are legit gamers, and then you have people that play video games. The girls, which I do agree with that post, if all you play is Sims, Animal Crossing, Minecraft, and Call of Duty, I'm not, and cell phone games like Candy Crush, I'm not going to call you a gamer. You're just somebody that plays video games, right? And the same thing, and yes, this goes for the guys as well, which I actually got into it with one of my friends over it a couple years ago. And I think it was a post about Madden or something. And I was saying like that's some nigga games. He's like, are you talking about, white people play Madden too? I'm like, yeah, but they don't buy a whole brand new fucking system just to play Madden. I mean, I'm not knocking you on how you spend your money, but I ain't calling you no gamer, my G. I'm saying if all you play is Madden, 2K, Call of Duty, and the occasional Grand Theft Auto, nigga games. And no, I'm not gonna apologize for that. Because only niggas do that shit. If that's all you play, I'm not gonna call you a gamer. I'm just gonna say you're just somebody that plays video games. You know what I mean? Same thing with damn, I just like lost my train of thought right there. I just lost my train of thought, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm not gonna look at some of you guys legit. Like I said, if you play, oh yeah, that's what I was about to say. There was a guy that was trying to, white knight and simp, and he was talking about, I just thought a gamer was just somebody that plays video games. It's not that simple. You have to earn your right to be called a gamer. You got to earn them Pokemon badges to be called a gamer. You know what I'm talking about? You gotta be deep in the trenches with it for me to call you a gamer. And yes, there are women that are, you know what I mean? So, but to keep it a G, that's it. You got people that play video games and you have gamers. You have people that watch anime and then you have anime fans or otaku. Like I said, we have to draw the line in the sand on this one. And y'all know what I'm talking about. But break's about to be over. Southpaw Slick. I'm out.